What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me today. That 5 minute countdown timer gives me a lot of time to address any technical issues, check in with chat, make sure things are looking and sounding good. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, a lot has happened over the last week. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. There has been some news over the last week, but really it was the Shuhei Yoshida interviews, it was the NetEase news, and it was almost definitely Xbox's big AI announcement. Now, we're going to get into the Shuhei Yoshida stuff, but I think I want to tackle the Xbox Muse AI news simply because I found it to be somewhat intriguing, but I didn't really get to read up a ton about it. So let's read about it together right now, live. Diving into it, we have Wario here, who said, "Today, countless classic games tied to aging hardware are no longer playable by most people. Thanks to this breakthrough, we are exploring the potential for Muse to take older back catalog games from our studios and optimize them for any device. We believe this could radically change how we preserve and experience classic games in the future and make them accessible to more players." Now, in theory, it does seem like that is a good cause or a worthwhile cause, making games more accessible to everybody, using AI to enhance those games. And largely that's what PSSR is doing. It's taking a lot of the games from the PlayStation library and enhancing them for the PlayStation 5 Pro in ways that are much easier for the developer to access. It sounds like that's what Microsoft is targeting, but yet again, it seems like their messaging has been met with a lot of resistance and concern, primarily due to the fact that they are seemingly using the AI model to train new AI to make new elements in video games. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this. I know there are a lot of concerns out there about the implementation of AI and how it's going to all end up working. But at the same time, I do feel like if you don't start figuring out smart ways to utilize the technology, then you're going to be left in the dust. PSSR is a great example of a smart utilization of AI to enhance and improve the quality of video games. I don't think anybody denies that the NVIDIA technology that utilizes AI to improve products is good, and it does a lot for making old games look good again. But there's a lot of resistance anytime you bring up AI, and it is a controversial subject. So let's talk a little bit about what this actual story said. We're actually going to go ahead and we're going to read the official Xbox Wire blog post because I was intrigued by it. And when I hear old games getting a facelift and it's easier for them to do so, that seems interesting to me. I like how PlayStation has handled it. Let's read about how Xbox is planning to handle it. Empowering creators and players with Muse, a generative AI model for gameplay. Now, this is a lot different than what Wario just tweeted, but let's keep reading. In nearly every corner of our lives, the buzz about AI is impossible to ignore. It's destined to revolutionize how we work, learn, and play. And to be fair, Microsoft has a vested interest in pushing that message because they are trying to get their own version of AI out on the market and get a lot of people interested in it. For those of us immersed in the world of gaming, whether as players or creators, the question isn't just how AI will change the game, but how it will ignite new possibilities. At Xbox, we're all about using AI to make things better and more fun for players and game creators. We want to bring more games to more people around the world and always stay true to the creative vision and artistry of game developers. We believe generative AI can boost this creativity and open up new possibilities. We're excited to announce a generative AI breakthrough published today in the journal Nature and announced by Microsoft Research that shows this potential to open up new possibilities, including the opportunity to make older games accessible to future generations of players across new devices and in new ways. Now, I'm going to give them this one. I do think that is an interesting opportunity for Microsoft, taking old games, making them look good, and then putting them out there for the public. My question is, what are they going to be making using this AI model? And the bigger concern that I've seen a lot from the industry is this going to result in more layoffs across the industry? Microsoft has laid off a lot of people in the last year. And the big criticism I saw, the big reaction I saw to this was, yeah, you fired 2,500 people and now you're announcing an AI model. I don't think that necessarily those things correlate. I don't think the introduction of this AI model was the reason for the layoffs, but I also understand where the criticism is coming from. There is a concern that AI is going to replace jobs no matter how you look at it. I think we can all agree that that is a concern out there, and we're going to see how things play out because we don't know if that's actually going to wind up being the case. AI could be a huge disaster, but I do feel like that these companies are going to find interesting ways who hopefully in a responsible manner to implement this new technology in their products. Introducing Muse, a generative AI model for gameplay ideation. In partnership with Xbox Game Studios Ninja Theory, Microsoft Research developed a world and human action model, WHAM, named Muse, a first of its kind generative AI model trained on Ninja Theory's multiplayer battle arena game, Bleeding Edge. Ninja Theory and Microsoft Research are both based in Cambridge, which made collaboration easy and led to the use of Bleeding Edge for this research. What's groundbreaking about Muse and its detailed understanding of the 3D game world, including game physics and how the game reacts to players' controller actions. This allows the model to create consistent and diverse gameplay rendered by AI, demonstrating a major step towards generative AI models that can empower game creators. So just thinking about that for a second, when you're playing your video game, does that sound interesting for you? An AI that's going to be able to figure out your inputs and then figure out how to counter your attacks? I don't know that that necessarily sounds good. A lot of people in the fighting game community has said, you know, we've been using some version of AI for a long time because we have to figure out how players are playing and then figure out how to counter that. And you know what? I don't know that that's necessarily fun. Part of the fun of video games for me is figuring out ways to break the system or trick the AI, so to speak. Like Halo 1 had AI. You would program the elites, or the people at Bungie would program the elites to react a certain way when the player did a certain thing, and then it would go react appropriately to your actions. I do wonder what this new model means, because if it's really good, won't that run into the challenge of the creator using AI to program these characters that you're going to be fighting against, but you don't want to make them too smart because then they'll just win. It'll be like the Terminators in Terminator 2. They spoiler warning, but humans lost. They had to send one T-1000 back in time. I don't remember the plot line. Arnold Schwarzenegger goes back in time. The liquid guy's bad, but like that was the result of it, right? And if that's what we're up against, I don't know that that's particularly compelling. Some of the mods that I've seen that have really interested me in the AI space are the mods where you can have these long storylines with NPCs in the world, and you can have existential conversations about life. And those are somewhat intriguing to me. Like maybe there's technology there, but then you have the other side of the argument where voice actors are concerned that these AI models are going to be used to copy their voice and just completely replace them on the job market. So there's all of these petitions out there right now, and there's been strikes about this, and there's a lot of thought about it. So as a player, I think players will largely just gravitate towards whatever is the most interesting gameplay experience. And I understand the concerns about it, but at the same time, if you don't explore it, a market that's less AI averse, like China just released an AI model. Sorry to nerd out about this for a second. I don't mean to nerd out about AI for a second. I just find it interesting. Like I'm curious about it. So China came along, they released a new AI model that was like way ahead of where the US market was. And US has been dumping billions of dollars into trying to figure out AI. And China comes along, they're like, yeah, we did this for like $50. And the US is like it affected NVIDIA stock, and it affected the whole world. As a gaming conversation, though, I am curious, how do you implement this responsibly? I think we should be considering how we are respectful to the voice actors. I've always thought that for one specific game, if a voice actor is willing to lend their voice talent to that game and they are paid appropriately for the quest line that will be developed using their voice, then maybe it would be okay. But that's not really something, like, I'm not a voice actor. I'm not going to be in that space ever. The concerning thing would be is if they use their voice to train an AI model and then their voice is allowed to be used in perpetuity. Of course, that wouldn't be okay. That would be difficult, right? Anyway, let's get back into it. Bailey's saying in chat, Muse is for prototyping, not creating games. Great. For now. That's the concern. The concern is that it's for now. Let's get back into it. Microsoft's research initially set out to explore how generative AI models can support new experiences, focusing on developing AI capabilities that could allow game developers to ideate and expand upon their work in new ways. To accomplish that, they interviewed 27 global game creators from indies to AAA game studios to make sure the research was shaped by the people who would use it. To allow other research teams and game developers to explore the model and experiment with its capabilities, Muse, its model weights, sample data, and interactive interface are now all available on Azure AI Foundry. So, like, theoretically, you could access all of this data if you just sign up on Azure AI Factory. And you can see some of the examples here. This looks like Crackdown 3 almost. And I don't really know what's happening in these clips, though. Like, what are they doing? They're just running and attacking? See, I don't know why these snippets are particularly compelling, and I don't really know what's happening in these snippets. But anyway, let's continue on with the story. What Muse means for gaming, although it's still early, this model research is pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible. We are already using Muse to develop a real-time playable AI model trained on the first-party game, on other first-party games, and we see potential for this work to one day benefit both players and game creators, from allowing us to revive nostalgic games to faster creative ideation. This part I'm interested in. So how would that work? Faster creative ideation. Maybe they're like, hey, we want team A to fight team B, throw a bunch of AI models in there, and then we don't have to do as much play testing. We can kind of see how a battle's going to play out and what the AI models will do. I have to imagine that's what they're talking about. Or here's an AI single player character, have it run through the map, and we're going to see how that character reacts. I don't know. It feels like they could have already done that. Like, I've seen all of these battles where you just let the AI models in the game fight each other. I used to do this in Fallout 4. We made a series on IGN where we'd have two AI bad characters fight each other, and then one would win. You've probably seen a bunch of those online where characters fight in a big arena and then see what happens. But anyway, let's continue on here. Yeah, what is ideation for uneducated? I don't really know how they're using that term. Ideation could be like, make me 5 elven characters with different looks, and then it spits out 5 different designs. Like, that can be considered ideation. And then the concern would be that an artist would be like, okay, so like we don't need artists anymore, but AI is trained on artists. So then here's the problem. I see this going towards everything looking really samey at some point. Like, how differentiated are AI-based games going to be if this ends up being the norm? Because all of the AI models, they're trained off of other people's work, usually, based on my understanding, or at least that's the general concern. And then where do we end up with that? We're already in the problem in the video game space where there's these big open world games and everybody's concerned about games feeling samey. So I don't know that this is necessarily a good thing. And I'm just reading about this along with y'all, so I am sort of curious about what it means. Yeah, I know Filaroni put the official definition, but I don't think that's what they're talking about. It's for feature ideation, asking AI to build a game feature that may or may not work well and testing it without spending 6 weeks building a prototype. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how that would work, though, right? Anyway. Today's countless classic games tied to aging hardware are no longer playable by most people. Thanks to this breakthrough, we are exploring the potential for Muse to take older back catalog games from our studios and optimize them for any device. Okay, this I can get more on board with. We believe this could radically change how we preserve and experience classic games in the future and make them accessible to more players. To imagine that beloved games lost to time and hardware advancement could one day be played on any screen with Xbox is an exciting possibility for us. Another opportunity we are exploring is how Muse can help game teams prototype new gameplay experiences during the creative process and introduce new content, taking games players already love and enabling our developers to inject new experiences for them to enjoy, or even enable you to participate in the creation process. Okay, now it was like Red Button or Record or something like that. It was by an actor put it together. Anytime a big studio like Microsoft is talking about, hey, you can join in on the creation process and help us make something, my alarm bells kind of go off on that, because you're talking about participating and making something. Okay, what are the payment terms? How much revenue does Destin Legary, the contributor to your multi-million-dollar game, get for coming up with a feature idea? That's the problem that they ran into. There wasn't like a good model for paying in that way. And it's a way to mass market freelance work, really. So I think you run into some tricky issues when you start talking about, hey, fans, make tools for us. One of the big things I criticized Bungie for was when you couldn't find parties for a raid and you had to use a third-party application or Discord to find raid matchmaking, for example. And you know what? Or like DIM came along, and DIM was created because that just wasn't available for Bungie. My criticism was Bungie should have made this tool, or Bungie should officially support in some capacity. So anyway, I don't particularly like that phrasing. I'm always like, all right, let me read the fine print, right? We'll create opportunities for people to participate in this exploration, starting with short interactive AI game experiences for you to try on Copilot Labs very soon. There's still so much for us to discover, and we can't wait to share more. What's Copilot Labs? Let's read about this. So Copilot is the big Microsoft feature that their AI program, basically. Copilot Vision. Copilot Vision is the first AI experience of its kind, available only on Microsoft Edge. It is a new way to invite AI along with you as you navigate the web, tucked neatly into the bottom of your Edge browser whenever you want to ask for help. Yeah, don't install bloatware on my computer, thanks. Think deeper. It's free for users. Okay, Copilot game experiences coming soon. A new series of AI experiences where Copilot becomes the game. These brief interactive adventures allow you to engage with immersive worlds using your Xbox controller or keyboard, while Copilot generates the game pixels in real time as you play. What? All right, what? All right, let's see what this is all about. Hey Copilot, let's play Bleeding Edge. Check out the new AI game experience on Copilot Labs. Look at the like, the dislike on the. I know this isn't accurate, but it does give you an indication of what it'll be like. All right, so wow, this looks not great. Select starting context, and then you can do whatever over here. You can change the temperature. Get iteration. I don't know what get is. You play here. Representative footage. Exact games to be announced. Adding objects into game scene. Number of frames to add. Select object. Like you can fight a character. This seems pretty bare bones. I don't really know. Like, this doesn't get me hype. Oh, it's doing that thing. Okay. So here's what it's doing. It's actually generating this world as the character runs along the world. I've seen a few of these, right? and then you can drop in objects as you go. So this world, you can tell because it kind of has that strange look to it. I mean, I'll reserve full judgment, but the way I understand that this worked would be that it's just pulling assets that exist. Microsoft hopefully is controlling that aspect of it, and then building the world as you run through it. Inversely, it could be pulling assets from a game that already exists, trying to remember what that looks like based off of all the live streams and everything that it sees, and then building the world. They did this with Counter-Strike not that long ago. Um, I'm not, I don't really understand how this is exciting, if that makes sense. Like, does this excite anybody in chat? Like, are you, I'm just going to take a poll. Are you excited? Muse AI from Xbox, yes or no? Yeah, I'm just sort of curious, like, what's your read on it? Because my read is this looks bad. I'm excited about AI being utilized to make games better, but I'm not, this doesn't particularly do much for me. So it drops, he dropped the barrel in, the exploding barrel, in real time, and he's able to interact with it. It's an early tech demo. Give it 2 years. I mean, the BMax is right. In terms of technology, it's going so fast that in 2 years, this could just be some standardized thing and the games we're playing will look great. It looks bad because it's not supposed to look good. Well, it certainly doesn't look good. So I don't know. Let's keep reading, but that I'm curious about AI and utilizing AI in game design, but this sell, it's not particularly selling me. But I'm not having like a big meltdown reaction to this or anything like that. I'm just kind of like, okay, like no matter how you feel about AI, if you think it's the worst thing ever and it's going to destroy the industry and jobs or whatever, I hear you and I get that concern. However, the big corporate money people are going to do it anyway. And I don't think any emotional argument about how we shouldn't do it is going to stop that big ship. You're going to have to go to Congress or something to halt this. And right now, it sure seems like the government is all in on AI based on all the announcements they've made about using AI for cancer research and stuff. So I don't know. I think this is coming whether we want it to or not. So no matter how Destin feels about it or y'all feel about it, companies are going to look how to leverage AI. And yeah, this is stage one. Give it a few years. So, but I mean, if that's what they're making right now, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe they're just going to realize in a few years this doesn't work right now for game design the same way HoloLens didn't work for Xbox. The ethics do matter, Seth. That's the thing that they have to figure out what is ethical. Like how can we do this and do it in a way that is morally responsible? And that's a really fine line to walk. Microsoft just had all these layoffs. The whole industry all up is like suffering right now. Tons of layoffs everywhere. And I'm not saying that to like make you feel emotional or anything like that. It's the truth. That's what's happening. And then AI comes along. So there's a lot of cynicism about AI and how it's being implemented because there's this feeling that, oh, Microsoft, you have $1 trillion, but you can't keep these people employed. It doesn't really make any sense. I understand that argument. However, this is a new technology. These are technology companies. And in order to remain competitive in the US and now with China, they're going to need to figure out how to utilize this technology, or guess what? China's just going to take over everything. So I do think it's a complicated topic, honestly. Like if you want to get into the world politics of it, it gets really messy really fast. And I am not knowledgeable enough about world politics to talk about that. So let's move on. Xbox's approach to generative AI. Xbox has been innovating with AI and machine learning for decades, including in partnership with Microsoft Research, constantly working to find ways to delight players and harness new computing capabilities to bring creative visions to life. While AI isn't new to gaming, we're now seeing an acceleration of generative AI research, both within Microsoft and across the broader technology community. It's funny, they're going right into what I'm talking about. We believe it's important to shape how these new generative AI breakthroughs can support our industry and game creation community in a collaborative and responsible way. At least they're trying to be responsible, right? For Xbox, game creators will always be the center of our overall AI efforts. We believe there is space for traditional game development and future generative AI technologies that serve as an extension of creative work and offer novel experiences. As part of this, we have empowered creative leaders here at Xbox to decide on the use of generative AI. There isn't going to be a single solution for every game or project, and the approach will be based on the creative vision and goals of each team. What's ahead? AI experiences from Xbox. As we look ahead, we're focused on how AI can address the barriers and frictions to playing and developing games. This means that we'll share our AI product innovation earlier on, providing opportunities for players and creators to experiment with and co-build new AI features and capabilities with us. This allows us to make sure that our AI innovations address real problems and add new value to creating or playing with Xbox. Again, I don't like the idea of being a playtester that will train your AI model for you. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but anytime someone's like, hey, come test this for us so that we can template it and then sell it, just like, okay. We give so much of our information. Sorry to get like tinfoil hat here for a second, but you give so much control to your phone when you sign into it, when you sign into Facebook, when you sign into X, like all of that data. I don't know what Blue Sky's data retention policies are, but I'm sure they're not great. There was a lot of concern about, I remember people were concerned about TikTok, and then, you know, now that we're doing whatever legally with TikTok, I don't know what's going on there, but people are paying more attention to those things. There's this meme out there where it was like, in the 90s, it was like, be careful, they might wiretap your phone. And in the 2000s, it's like, hey, wiretap, order me a pizza. Like, we have these devices all over the place, and they listen to you. I have conversations with my wife about like, oh, do we need to get the kids sewing like a slide, or do we need to order more diapers or whatever? And then my phone sends me diaper ads. It's crazy. Like sorry. Anyway, let's get back to gaming. I'm going to sound like a crazy person here in a second, but it's real. It's real. And yeah, big pass on being a tester for free, right? By the way, the poll came through. No, 54%, yes, 45. So still half the viewers. How many viewers do we have? We have 374 concurrents right now. And people are so on it. Like I think half the people are in, half the people are out. As we look ahead, we're focused on how AI can address the barriers and frictions to playing and developing games. This means that we'll share our AI product innovation earlier on, providing opportunities for players and creators to experiment with and co-build new AI features and capabilities with us. Co-build, everybody. Come work for free over at the $1 trillion. Okay. No, thanks. I don't know. Destin's skeptical radar is going berserk right now. That's for sure. This allows us to make sure that our AI innovations address real problems and add new value to creating or playing with Xbox. Develop tools that are used in ways that benefit everyone. Our innovation will continue to be built on our commitment to responsible AI. That is true. Microsoft is the only company that I've heard talking about responsibly implementing it repeatedly, and dedication to developing AI solutions guided by 6 principles: fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability. So come test for free, be our employee for free to help us train our AI models. How can you say How can you say fairness? And then the previous paragraph, they're talking about fairness here, right? Fairness. And then it's like, experiment and co-build new AI features with us. Okay. My rate's $100 an hour, Microsoft. Give me a call. Yeah, you want me to train your AI model? No, now it's 200. What's my cut? You want me to come play your Copilot AI model? All right. What are you going to pay me? Oh, chat, should I up my day rate? You can expect more exciting announcements this year about how we are using AI to empower game creators and provide the best possible player experience across all devices. Stay tuned for more updates ahead of GDC 2025 on Xbox Wire and our AI Resource Hub as we continue to shape the future of gaming supported by AI. As you might imagine, this did not go over well with the overall community. Now, initially, when I heard about this, I didn't read much about it, but I am curious about AI and how AI is going to be implemented in our games in the future. I think there are use cases where it can be done responsibly and in an interesting manner. The most practical use that I have seen was the Matrix demo, where you could like integrate. Uh-oh, the kids are fighting. Oh, they're doing the game where they run in a circle. The Matrix demo where you can uh go around the city in the Matrix and then interact with AI models, and then you can just have a conversation about whatever. You would just talk to the NPC and it would have a conversation back and forth. That was really interesting to me. And then you could partner with something like 11 Labs and like do something there to make the AI model work. But then voice actors don't like that because they're worried they're going to get put out of a job, right? And then, you know, the people making the world, like the world designers, basically, if this takes off, now the world designers are going to have an issue with it. So, yeah, I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I'm curious. I think it's interesting. I do not think this press release was well. But yeah, let's listen to the.
Hey, it's great.
So Phil Spencer did a little thing here. Let's hear what Spencer said about AI.
Hey, it's great to be here. You might have seen like some exciting news came out about work that our teams are doing on the world human action model. So Katya and Dom, Katya from our Microsoft research team, Dom from Ninja Theory, we're here to talk about this interesting work and how it impacts our kind of future in research, our future in game development. It's also interesting to note that this model was just published on Azure Foundry. The weights for the model were just published on Hugging Face because we want to make sure that the industry of creators and researchers are able to engage with this work and we can all learn together. We definitely look at this work as a unique opportunity to kind of leverage the intersection of art and science, which is what video games are, to grow with the creator community. That's what these tools are about. We think there's a really unique opportunity to use technology to enable creators to do things that they've never done before. We have a great opportunity with two teams that happen to be, frankly,
He's literally Phil. He just introduced everybody. We're a minute into the video.
right next to each other in Cambridge in the UK, in our game studios and Microsoft Research. And it's been awesome to see the collaboration between those two teams. So what I'm going to ask is I want to have Katya talk about how they see this technology and the work that they've done.
Absolutely. She did the thing. Look at all the places I've been. So this is the thing that a lot of people in the industry do. They'll collect all their badges. Just a total aside here for a second. I used to do that, and I had so many lanyards that I just threw them away. Like at some point, I'm like, okay, like this is too much. Like you're talking about a whole closet full of lanyards. It was bad. That's not a humble brag. I'm just saying, like, she'll stop.
Thank you so much, Phil and Dom. Fantastic to be here and reflect on the work that is coming out today. Key to this work from the very beginning was to try and understand how we can really ground the development of generative AI models in an actual understanding of what users need. In this case, what are the kinds of model capabilities that would be needed in order to really empower creatives, to allow, to let them explore ideas more quickly, more deeply than they might be able to do with traditional tools. And so in this work, we grounded our
We're 2 minutes in. They still haven't told us what they're making. This is like when I had a book report due. I feel like this is like when I had a book report due in high school and I had to sort of wing it because I hadn't read the chapter. It's like the Romeo and Juliet. It's like, yeah, man, like what happened between them. You kind of like listen to what else said and then put out your book report. And or like because you'd have to do it in front of the class. Anyway, yeah, we're 2 minutes in. I haven't said anything about what's actually happening.
Model development in a user study with 27 game creatives. And we were able to tease out that aspects like iterative tweaking and divergent thinking, which have already been well established in the computer-supported creativity research, those continue to be really key when creatives want to engage with these types of models, but often they're an afterthought in model development. So we turned that on its head. We started from those capabilities and then tried to really systematically push on the model capabilities that might be needed in order to support tweaking, ideation, rapid interaction. And so that is how we developed WAM and focused specifically on those model capabilities of consistency, diversity, and persistency. And you can read a lot more in the research publication and the demo videos associated with that.
I'll tell you one of the things that I get excited about. One of the things we care a lot about at Xbox is game preservation.
There we go.
And I think about an
something we all care
opportunity
about
to have models learn about older games that were maybe tied to unique pieces of hardware where that engine on that hardware is kind of time will erode the amount of hardware that's out there that can actually play a game. But you could imagine a world where from gameplay data and video that a model could learn old games and really make them portable to any platform where these models could run. I think that's really exciting. We've talked about game preservation as an activity for us, and these models and their ability to learn completely how a game plays without the necessity of the original engine running on the original hardware, I think opens up a ton of opportunity. But the fact that this,
I want to know more about how that works. So he's saying it can learn about the game, but like we can't get it running on modern hardware. So does AI simulate like a DOS game? Like all those old DOS games made by Microsoft. There's an old X-Men DOS game that's like a pain in the butt to get running. I think you can run it via a browser. You have to like do this special browser way to get it running. I think stuff like that's intriguing, but like what is the AI model doing? It's like looking at YouTube videos and then recreating the game. I'm curious, like, and is that the best way to recreate it?
This is research that was done on top of Bleeding Edge from Ninja Theory. Dom, why don't you talk about with the role that Bleeding Edge plays and how you as a creator think about this technology?
Phil was onto something really interesting there. He was talking about game preservation and how it could be used that, and then they went to Bleeding Edge, which I think everyone's a little less excited about, unfortunately.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Yeah, so as you mentioned, Katya and Katya's team and our team here at Ninja Theory, we happen to be in the same city in Cambridge in the UK. We're just down the road from each other. So when we joined Xbox Game Studios, we were introduced to Katya and we started to think about how could we collaborate. And we've been working together now for a few years. And Katya asked if they could use Bleeding Edge as a multiplayer catalog title as a test bed for their research and for this technology. We were happy for them to do that, and what we're looking at today is really the fruits of the work that Katya and the team have done. And I think for us as a game creator, the thing that I'm always really interested in is how can we help our teams do more? How can we help them to push their creative ambitions and their creativity even further? So technology like this for me, and I think for our studio here at Ninja Theory, is not about using AI to generate content, but it's actually about creating workflows and approaches that allow our team here of 100 creative experts to do more, to go further, to iterate quicker, to ideate quicker, to bring what's the ideas in their heads to life in a tangible form for others to see. So
I screwed that up, guys. Sorry for a second. Spoilers. He didn't say anything. He said they're using. Let's just move on. Like, maybe Phil says something. Let's just see if Phil says something here quick.
Is that we have the human creativity, but through this technology, we can empower them to do more and push their own dreams further than they have been before.
Yeah, like we're always thinking about how do we put tools in the hands of creators so that they can create things that they haven't been able to create before. I know you and the team will continue to make progress. We obviously have Game Developers Conference coming up. It's always a unique opportunity for us to talk about more of the innovation that's happening between our creative teams, our platform teams, and our research teams. And I'm really excited about what we will get to show next. But congrats again on all of the progress. Really, really exciting.
All right, so I'm glad they're excited about it. I don't know what they just told me. We want to develop tools that devs can use. I don't know that. I mean, these two seem to be excited, but I don't really see how I draw the line from point A to point B. We've made all these AI tools equal better games, because everything they've shown, I don't know that that's necessarily better. I don't know how ideation is going to be helped. I am excited about the potential of remastering old games that maybe were limited by technology. But I don't know. I was excited. So when I read this from Mario, right? Here's what I saw from Mario when I initially read about this. Countless classic games tied to aging hardware are no longer playable by most people. Thanks to this breakthrough, we are exploring the potential for Muse to take older back catalog games from our studios and optimize them for any device. I mean, that sounds great. Anything that takes an old game and makes it new would be great. Daniel Leon, I did talk about how I could imagine AI being used in some interesting ways. The ways that they're talking about, I don't necessarily see Microsoft's strategy paying off in a big way. I've seen a lot of other potentials with the AI market that are interesting. I talked about the Matrix demo that integrated ChatGPT and then allowed you to have conversations with NPCs. I think something like that is pretty interesting. I think something like being able to generate a level quickly could be interesting. I feel like that already existed, though. I also feel like the ability to have AI character models fight each other, something like that, all that stuff already exists. So I'm just curious about what they plan to do that is going to be different. So Daniel, to answer your question, you're saying I lack vision. I don't understand how the prototyping model that Microsoft is talking about can be utilized by developers, and most developers have said that it's not particularly helpful. So this particular usage of AI, I'm not completely sold on. There are other uses that I do find more interesting. So my takeaway from the whole thing, just on a personal note, is I don't really know how to feel about any of it. Every time we see game devs do these kind of almost development diaries, seems weird, I guess, tends to happen when things are so uncertain. Yeah, things are pretty uncertain right now, and it does make me wonder. Thank you for the $10, Phil Roney. I do appreciate it. I don't know. Chat, how do you feel about it? Like, what are your thoughts? I would love to hear your thoughts on it. And yeah, Blue Gamer says it's a bunch of technical jargon, so hard to explain in the mainstream, like getting engines to speak to each other, generating test cases, etc. Maybe. I don't know. They didn't really tell much in the first place. Yeah, so I've been streaming for what? 50 minutes. We've been talking about AI for 50 minutes, and I don't feel like I'm any more or less excited about AI from this. The one aspect that I am more excited about is if it empowers them to more easily prototype AI models that allow them to make older games new again. So that's my read on it. All right, let's continue on here. Where are we at? Yeah, and then there was a Microsoft blog about it. But the big story, the headline of the stream, was all about this Shuhei Yoshida interview that Colin did. Now, I actually listened to the interview in a car ride I took recently. Colin does very long interviews. I don't know his turnaround on Sacred Symbols Plus. I'll let him announce it. Anyway, he's doing an interview with Shuhei Yoshida. It's available now on his Patreon. I dropped the $5 and I listened to the whole thing. It is very interesting. Shuhei Yoshida talks about the PC market, their strategies on PC, how well PlayStation did in China. I covered this back in 2021. So PlayStation launched their console in China in 2021. So did Xbox. And I believe it was 2021. Correct me on the year if I'm wrong. But it sold out very, very quickly in China. The console did. And then you remember Black Myth Wukong, when that came out, China again just bought up all the consoles because it was sort of this phenomena that everybody wanted to experience. People were getting consoles from Japan brought to China so that they could play Black Myth Wukong on their PlayStation 5. So PlayStation seems to be doing quite well in this new territory where their consoles just launched. I don't know how Xbox is doing over there. I haven't actually dug into that in particular, but I do remember covering PlayStation's success in the Chinese market. So Shuhei Yoshida did an interview. He did talk about China. He talked about PC and how releasing PC games to the market basically prints them money. He talked about how the key markets are the US and China. The reason China is one of the big markets is because for a long time you couldn't launch consoles there. That's a fairly new development. And being able to print on PC, well, he said it's very cost effective. I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the exact quotes. I wrote down the time codes when I was in the car. You know what? Give me a sec here. Because I did something. Let me see if I have it handy. I think I closed the sequence. So I took Colin's interview, I put it in here, and I wanted to reference it today, but I can't find where I put it. Here we go. I put it in here, text, PC. One second. I'm looking for some quotes here. You know, these games are created and published by Koei Tecmo in Japan and Asia, probably, but outside of Asia in the US and Europe, well, published by PlayStation, and that was a second-party deal in our... Oh, no, that's not the quote I'm looking for. He talks a lot about US and Europe market. Sorry, give me a second. You know what? Let's just read the clip outs. Go check out Colin's interview. I'm going to link to it. It's a really good interview. It's one of my favorite things that Colin's done in a long time. Ben over at MinMax did an interview. Here it is. If you drop him $5, you can go check out the full thing right now. And I got to be honest, like, Colin's done some really good interviews over the years, and I really, really like it. I did watch Colin's Icarus opinion piece. I did. I think there were some errors in it. I think there's some assumptions being made in the video. It's fine that it's critical of Xbox, but I think he could have strengthened his argument a little bit more. I think there's some assumptions that I found a little surprising, because he's usually really buttoned up on that stuff, but maybe he knows something I don't know. I will ask him about it. Here, check this out. So Shuhei Yoshida, one of the things he said is that PS5, Japan studio closed because the AA market has disappeared, says Shuhei Yoshida. During my time, people give me credit, but one of the things I was not successful at was having successful service game. And the other thing is I was not able to have amazingly successful game made in Japan, Yoshida explained. Other than Gran Turismo, we had many great products, but didn't really have many AAA level successful products. That became more and more important as the big games became bigger, the indies filled the gap, and the AA market seems to have disappeared. Most of the IPs that Japan Studio had were in that smaller AA size group, and the market became really difficult for those kinds of games. For example, after Gravity Rush 2, Kenichiro Toyama tried to come up with a new concept, but we were not able to greenlight any of his new concepts, even though they were really interesting. In my mind, I remember his product looked like something the company wouldn't support. So unfortunately, Japan Studio largely closed because they were the AA market. I've read all sorts of vague definition about what it is to be AA. I would say AA would be anything that doesn't cost $100 million to make. But I think AA would have a higher likelihood to recoup the return on the investment, right? Shuhei Yoshida on Xbox's multi-platform strategy was also mentioned. He said, I suspect Microsoft is the biggest publisher on PlayStation. Looking at the install base of Xbox, I think it's natural to understand what they're doing. Yeah, basically, it makes sense, right? Now, I used, in Adobe Premiere, you can use the text feature and it'll like transcribe the whole thing. So let me find the full quote real quick. Here we go. Let me just read it to you. And again, I've linked to Colin's full thing, but here's the full quote for context. And it's all, I think it uses AI, which we were talking about in the previous segment. So take some of it with a grain of salt. They want their games to reach the biggest audience as possible. It's very not sure if platform is minority. And if I was able to release a game on minority platform only, it's unattainable, right? To unlicensable. Anyway, all these creative great teams. So that was the nightmare. So, looking at the install base of actual hardware, I think it's kind of natural to understand what they are doing. And the feel is pretty straightforward in explaining the situation, right? Yeah, it's a changing world. I think ultimately, in the long term, PlayStation will probably be in a similar situation. Just in that, I think it'll be streaming and on a TV and the 2040s or something. But I loved your answer. Was that Greg or okay, just 1 second now. I need to know if Shuhei said that or if Colin said that.
And the feel is pretty.
No, it's Shuhei said that. Okay, no joke. I didn't plan this, but Shuhei is the one who said that.
Straightforward in explaining the situation.
Right.
Okay. No,
yeah,
Colin.
it's a changing world. I think ultimately, in the long term, PlayStation will probably be in a similar situation.
Okay. It was Colin. It was Colin that said that. It was Colin who said that, everybody. Not Shuhei Yoshida.
Just in that, I think it'll be streaming on a TV in, the 2040s or something. But I loved your answer. I think it was to Greg.
Anyway, okay. I will spoil a little surprise for you right now. I'm potentially going to have a voice from the PlayStation community who will be one of my next bigger interviews. So not like somebody who worked at PlayStation, to be clear, not like Greg again. So I'll let you know when I have more details to share. Could all fall apart. It's not Shuhei Yoshida. I should reach out to Shuhei Yoshida though. Like he's been doing all these interviews, but I also feel like he just did 3 back to back. They've been super interesting. It's not David Jaffe. I'll tell you when I can tell you. I don't want to jinx anything, but working on some stuff. Jim Ryan would be great. So anyway, Shuhei said he understands why Xbox is doing what they're doing. Think about it this way. PlayStation is in the place where they are. Hugely successful console. They're expanding to China in exciting ways. They're launching on PC more and more often. I think longer term, like all of their games are basically going to be on PC at some point. And that's really, really exciting. Not just that they're going to be on PC, the fact that they're doing so well across the board for PlayStation, right? However, we know that PlayStation, for some reason, isn't happy about it. They want to see growth. They want to make sure they're having the appropriate margins on their initiatives. Spider-Man 2 was like $300 million. And while they're happy, they're like, yeah, this is pretty good. How do we make more? How do we do more? How do we make more profit? Because that is their goal. I mean, like, they're a company at the end of the day. They're publicly traded. Make no mistake that is important to them. And I worry that they've had a really sweet spot for a long time. It's the reason everything's going so well for them in terms of the games that they make, in terms of their console. Their console's been doing really well. I hope they don't lose sight of dancing that line that they've danced quite well. I'm glad Jim Ryan is out, and I didn't like Jim Ryan's leadership, but now it's Herman Hulst, I believe it's Nishino, right? And then, of course, Hiroki Tsutoki up top. Can they replicate what they have done for the last 10 years? And you know what's really funny? Shuhei Yoshida was one of the people that helped like make the PS4. Sony's game changed when the PS4 did what it did. The PS4 kicked the crap out of the Xbox. And it went toe-to-toe with Nintendo for a bit. Was it when the PS4 came out that the Wii U launched and Nintendo was just like done? There was a chance that if the Wii U came out and then the next thing came out, that Nintendo would just be done. Just to give you some context about like what was happening at the time, it was not good. It was a really, really bad time for them. So hopefully they continue on a good path, but they need to get their margins in check. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 cost. I have an interview coming out. So I have 2 interviews coming about in the near future. One with Thomas Mahler, creator of Ori, and one with Toby from over at the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Yes, I have been doing stuff in the background, believe it or not. I'm very excited to launch these. But one thing I can tell you about the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 game was that game was made for double digits. They even seem to allude to the idea that 40-something million number isn't too off the number. That's crazy when something like Spider-Man 2 costs $300 million, and we know The Last of Us Part 2, because the leaked FTC documents, cost like what, $200 million, and then here comes Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Yeah, we did it for 50. Or let's say it's $99 million, right? Because they said double digits. So let's say they did it for $99 million. That's crazy. That's crazy. And they sold 2 million copies in like 14 days or something. It's just crazy to see how different the budgets are for some of these games. I don't even know what Diablo 4 cost. But anyway, sorry, I'm kind of getting off track. I have a bad habit of doing that. Yeah, the Shuhei Yoshida stuff. He said a bunch of things that were, former head of Xbox Studios on Xbox going multi-platform. Xbox games on PS5 are a win for PlayStation owners. I suspect Microsoft is the biggest publisher on PlayStation. Looking at Xbox console sales, I think it's natural to understand what they're doing. Yeah, they're making money. I got to give Charlie Intel props, by the way. They have been linking out to the people that they're sourcing lately. I can't tell you how much I appreciate seeing that. So often people will just rip your work off and post it, and you can't do anything about it. Like, especially when it's behind a Patreon paywall, just wait a few days at least, you know? Like, don't clip it and just post it wholesale. I think that's unfortunate. I think quoting it's fine and then giving credit, just, yeah. I agree on that, Turbo. I think that was weird. What else we got here? Oh, we already talked about the Japan story. Oh, this one was, I think this was from one of the other interviews, but he said, Shuhei Yoshida said that Jim Ryan gave him the choice to do the indie job or leave PlayStation. Moving from first party to indies, well, I had no choice. When Jim asked me to do the indie job, the choice was to do that or leave the company. Now, he specified during the call-in interview that he didn't necessarily have any gripes with Jim Ryan or anything like that. He was happy about the change. My personal reaction, though, is it's another reason I don't like Jim Ryan. I think Shuhei Yoshida had the best interest of game developers at heart and the best interest of gamers at heart when he was in the role that he was in. And I think it's really, really unfortunate that he was put in a place where they're like, hey, you can take the Indies project or like your time here is done, basically. Like he can have his personal reaction to it. And obviously he liked Jim Ryan. But my reaction to it is I just don't like that. I don't like that. What else did I want to talk about today? I think that's everything. Let me see. I think that's everything related to Shuhei Yoshida. There was the big, just to address the big controversy that I got embroiled in over the weekend. Somebody posted a clip saying that Shuhei Yoshida said that PlayStation is targeting China. They are targeting the US and China. Uh-oh. I'll be right back, everybody. I'm going to make sure Nate's okay. Honey, is he okay? Hi, everybody. Sorry. The kids were playing Frisbee and one of the kids got hit in the face and he's going to have a black eye. So, yay. Bad stuff. He's okay, though. We got him some ice and he's doing fine. Just they were playing with the... Doesn't matter. Where were we? Where were we? I can probably go for about 25 more minutes. What was I saying? It's hard to get back into the flow whenever something like that happens with the kiddos. Sorry. Yes. Shuhei Yoshida, what he actually said during the interview was PlayStation primarily targets the US and China. So somebody posted saying that PlayStation is only targeting China. And I said, you didn't listen to the clip. He clearly says they're targeting the US and China. And that's it. That was the whole thing. I didn't say anything about Xbox. I didn't say anything about sold versus ships. I didn't say anything about anything. I was just correcting the statement because Shuhei Yoshida clearly says, oh yeah, we target the US and China. And I actually wrote out the full quote. He says it like in a sort of a strange way, but he says is and are. Here's what he said. And I posted it out there. This is what Shuhei said. Shuhei Yoshida, you know that when publishers release PC games on multiple platforms, especially on PC, the number one market countries that their games sell are either US or China. That's it. That's all I was saying. That's wrong. You didn't listen to what was said. Okay. I have it here. You let me find the quote. Can I find US and? Yeah, that was a logical choice, you know, because the market in the US is the biggest market and all new innovations seem to be happening technically in the US, and we have the largest, you know, number of studios in the US as well.
The US is
Yeah, and that's Shuhei. So I'm looking more into it. Somebody said I was wrong, and I'm just like, yeah, he talked about China, but the part I'm correcting is this idea. Oh yeah, there was this whole part about but we have set up that, you know, we are lucky to have a Japanese producer that Korean hired from Japan studio. He is Japanese. I was talking about Ghost of Tsushima. That's a great part of the interview. I'm telling you guys, go watch this interview. It is a great interview. Man, he talks a lot about US and Europe and such. Maybe if I look for China, because Last of Us coming up. The number one market countries they are games on is either USA or China. That's what he said. And that's all I was correcting. He said the US or China. This narrative that PlayStation isn't interested in the US market is crazy to me. You think that they're not interested in the US market. They are absolutely interested. They're interested in making as much money as they possibly can. Now, China is a market that will allow them to expand. But of course, they're selling in the US too. So I don't even understand what the argument is about. Who isn't interested in the US market? Yeah. Like, yeah, China's a big market and the US is a market. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get what the defense mechanism is here. He said.
well.
So,
There's
yep.
you here. You know that when publishers release games on multi-platforms, especially on PC.
When publishers release games on multiple platforms, especially on PC,
the number one market countries their games sell is either US or China.
Did the audio come through clearly for everybody?
either US or China.
Is it coming through? Just checking.
Either US or China.
No, wait. I think I'm getting some audio errors here. Some people must have missed it still.
Either US or China.
Let me just turn it up here. It seems like it's not coming through for some reason.
Either US or China.
Oh, is that better? Did it come through that time?
Either US or China.
I can't make it out. It sounds like he's saying either the US or China, which is the only point I was trying to make. Is that he said both markets are markets that every publisher, that includes PlayStation, targets. Sorry for I have a weird audio issue with my desktop audio. I actually have to set it to like -20 for some reason. So like it must have blasted out your earballs. I'm sorry. Your eardrums. Now, he went on to talk about the China market and how it's a good growth opportunity. I talked about it in 2021, how well PlayStation is doing in China. Like that's obviously part of the story. Yeah. But the quote was that they're only targeting China. That's just not true. They're targeting the US and China for their PC releases. It is crazy to me that anybody would try and make an argument that they're only targeting one demographic and anywhere that can buy PC, anywhere. So that was the drama over the weekend because, or I don't even remember what day it is right now. There was a bunch of silly drama about that. And it's just, I shouldn't have even responded to it. It was just ridiculous, if I'm being totally honest. Oh yeah. And he also said, printing PlayStation games on PC is like printing money. You want me to bring up that part too? Like, I actually listened to the interview. Printing. Did he say printing money? You know, because porting PC is way, way cheaper than creating the original title. So it's, you know, almost like printing money. And that helps to invest in new titles that the size of investment has increased. So, you know, things have changed. Our policy has changed. Market forces changed. Technology has changed. And so all these things, and in addition, not related to service games, but one thing I really appreciate and respected that Herman and team did was I4 had no interest in is getting into movies and TV. Oh yeah, he talked about their good initiative into movies and TV. It's a weird thing, confirmation bias. Keeping an open mind listening is a skill that many can't manage. It was very clear he pointed to the US. Yeah, the only thing I wasn't correcting that he talked about China. I was saying he said the two markets that they target are the US and China. And of course the US is one of the markets. It's a huge market for gaming. They've done very well there. And they're going to probably do okay in terms of PC. But yeah, this is really interesting too. You know, because porting to PC is way cheaper than creating the original title. So, you know, it's almost like printing money. Now, he did say they're probably not going to go day and date. I don't know if that was in this interview, but it might have been in another interview. I wasn't making an argument for anything. I wasn't trying to say they're not selling in China. I wasn't trying to say that they're going to go day and date. Like, that was the crazy thing, because then people just started saying that I was saying all the stuff that I just wasn't saying. Yoshida explains that the PlayStation PC ports are primarily targeting the US and Chinese market. That's it. I didn't say that they're going to go day and date. I didn't say anything about Xbox. I just made a video the day before about how PlayStation is crushing it, and I lost subscribers on that video, don't forget. So like this idea that I'm pushing an Xbox narrative is weird. It was just the strangest. It was the strangest reaction I've ever seen to me quoting what Yoshida said. He said that they target the US. I don't know. Do I need to elaborate on it? We all listened to Yoshida say it on loop for like 5 minutes there. Yeah. I wasn't saying that they're targeting day and date. I mean, if you asked me what I think that they will do, I do think that margin will get slimmer. I don't think they're going to do 2-3 years forever. I think it'll get shorter and shorter because they've put themselves in a position where they're spending a lot of money on their games and they need to make their ROI. So I think they'll keep it at like a year. I don't know that they'll go lower than a year until something drastic happens within the industry. The problem is people want to know when or if Sony will do day and date with all their games. So when do you think that's going to happen, Destin? I honestly don't know, Face. Thank you for the $20 though. So when do I think PlayStation will go day and date? I think the earliest that they would ever need to consider that would be like 2040, like the next console gen. And even then it's just like, they're doing so well in the console market. They know, and I would even guess that the PlayStation 5 is going to hit a similar number to what the PlayStation 4 did. The PlayStation 4 capped out around 117 million units sold, right? So I think the PlayStation 5 will come within a 5% margin of that. So within a couple million, either million above or a million below. I think personally, they'll either be right on with it. Actually, did I say 5%? I think like a 2% margin. Because historically, all the analysts have basically said everything's not growing. It's either like a 1 to 2%. Now, if you look historically, and I brought up the numbers, I went through all of the official earnings reports to see where they landed in Q3. Q3, for some context for PlayStation, is the end of the calendar year. And I spent a lot of time on this. And I'm like, wow, they're doing great. And their margins compared to the PlayStation 4, they've been behind every Q3. Every single Q3 with a price increase and with restrictions. Let me bring it up here. And I started doing it for Xbox. Xbox is tricky, but I was looking at the PlayStation numbers. And we can go over this a little bit if you want to talk about it. I know I bring it up my silly sheet, but it's sort of like a hobby of mine. I'm curious about how they're doing. That's the PSN numbers. The numbers we're looking at are right here, right? What's the formula for percentage? Real quick, what's the formula? What is the formula for percentage difference? Equals new value minus old value minus 100. Old value times 100. All right, let's see. Okay, let's do it again. So equals new value is J31 minus J25 divided by J25 times 100. This is wrong then. That formula can't be right because it says they're 2% behind. My calculations put them at 1.98% behind. So where's the discrepancy? Sony has this great website where they just said, here's our console sales for every quarter. So Q3 is the quarter, that's the end of the calendar year. And that's the number, like I'm going by human being yearly numbers and where they stand. So they were 2.2. And you can look, well, they broke even actually the first year before COVID hit and everything. So it's a 0%, it's a 14% decrease, it's a 15% decrease. But what gets really interesting is even with whatever the formula I just put in here, they're negative 4.3% behind in 2016. And now they've managed to cut that percentage decline in half to only 2.2% decrease in terms of console sales. Now, the reason I find that super interesting and compelling, and the reason I think PlayStation could have a crazy year this year is Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out this year. There is no doubt in my mind that PlayStation is going to sell a lot of consoles with GTA 6. Grand Theft Auto, because it had Grand Theft Auto 3 exclusive on the PlayStation 2, it historically has just done well in terms of sales. And it's helped push the console market up. So I'm really, really curious what is going to happen with the PlayStation 5, because if you look at the PlayStation 4 life cycle, it starts drastically dipping in terms of sales. So they sold 19.4, they were at 19.4 million in Q3 2017, then 17, 14, 610, right? So the bell curve, we're in the bell curve right now. Like this year is the bell curve. It was the top of the bell curve for the PlayStation 4 era, and it was the top of the bell curve for the PlayStation 5 era. Now, last year they did 22.7 million consoles sold, and then in 2024 they did 20.2 million consoles sold. I believe that was the number. And their figure right now is 75. That's really, really interesting. So in Q3, I'd have to do the math here really quick. What year am I comparing it to? I'm comparing it to 2008, 2017. I'm going to do the math again. All right, let's do the math together. Here we go, everybody. Buckle up. We're going to do some math in Excel spreadsheets. So we're doing Q3 because I want to know where they landed at the end of the calendar year, right? So they did 4.5 million. And then they sold... Oh, wait. I got to add all the numbers. Oh, boy. 3.1 plus 7.6 plus 2.8 plus 3.4 plus 6.4. Am I doing it right? 2.3 plus 14.8 in April to March? What? Oh, I could just do the financial year. Hold on, let's start over. We're going to do the financial year. 7.6 plus 14.8 plus 17.7. So we're at 40 plus 20. And then we're looking for 7. So we're at 60. I'm doing the financial year totals. And then we just went through Q3. So it's 3.3 plus 4.2 plus 9. 76.6. What do I have in my document? I have 76.7. That's the discrepancy. There we go. But I'm adding, let's just, I don't know why it's rounding up. Because these are their figures. I'm sorry. Sorry to just getting ready for a second. It's 76.7. So one of the, I'm adding point, I'll just type it in. 76.6. It's still, whatever. It's close. It's like within a 0.4% discrepancy. Do Xbox testing. I'm working on Xbox. So Xbox is so complicated. I haven't tried dark mode. Xbox is so complicated in how they do their financials. I'll show you what I'm doing for Xbox. Like I just started digging into it, but we don't have a lot of data points for Xbox. So they report revenue, overall gaming revenue, Xbox content and services, and personal computing revenue in billions, right? Their quarter ends in, I believe it's Q2 is through December. So Xbox is a weird one in terms of how they do their financials. But here's what we could potentially glean some data about. We could figure out what they're doing in revenue. We could figure out what they're doing in overall gaming revenue. We could figure out their Xbox content and services revenue and their personal computing revenue in the billions. And then we could figure out, I can't really zoom in on Excel. I know it's hard to read. But then we can figure out like, okay, like what sort of growth or decline are they seeing? And then we can look and just sort of get an idea of where they stand. Now, I've already talked about where I think they're at in terms of console sales. And on the previous stream, we were looking at that. Now, the most generous number that anybody has said is 35.9. And the math seems sound for Xbox console sales. I think that is incredibly generous. My personal opinion is they're closer to 32 million, but the Take-Two numbers put them closer to 30 million. But last year, Take-Two also had to adjust their numbers, and the number came closer to 30.3 for 2023, and then that puts them closer to 32, 33 million. Yeah. You also have Xbox hardware revenue. I don't think that's a data point that they report on, but we know the hardware is in the toilet for Xbox. Was there anything else you wanted me to talk about this week? Anyway, sorry to nerd out about that for a second, but I was digging into the PlayStation numbers. PlayStation is doing very well. Oh, the NetEase news. Let's talk about the NetEase news. So I haven't played a ton of Marvel Rivals, but a lot of people were upset about the NetEase news. Apparently, NetEase decided to close their U.S. branch, which affected, I believe, 6 employees. So initially, people felt like maybe the coverage about it was it was making it sound worse than it was. Well, then they said, oh yeah, we're going to do more firings. So it's actually seeming like it's a bit bigger deal. Here's Yahoo Finance. NetEase billionaire CEO slashes jobs and games in profit push. After years of expanding overseas, video game billionaire William Ding is hitting the brakes at NetEase Inc., the pioneering Chinese company behind hits like Egg Party and its newest... What the... Okay. Their big hit is Egg Party, everybody. And its newest blockbuster, Marvel Rivals. Ding, 53, who founded the company and is chief executive officer, has cut hundreds of jobs, closed or idled game studios, and pulled back on international investment as he refocuses on a smaller portfolio of titles. He reasserted his leadership with a series of dramatic decisions over the past year, according to people familiar with the company's inner workings who asked not to be identified. If successful, the reorganization could strengthen NetEase's position against much larger rival Tencent Holdings and upstarts like MiHoYo Company. If not, Ding risks undermining his own legacy. The company's gaming business, one of the world's largest, had $11.6 billion in revenue last year. Wasn't NetEase doing a partnership with Bungie, though? Because the last thing I heard was that NetEase is just getting out of the West. So it's doing really well. Oh, yeah, and they did World of Warcraft in China. Yeah, they were the China party. All right, here's what they said about the West. Outside Uka, NetEase-funded Japanese creators, Nagoshi among them, have been given time to wrap up ongoing projects. Whoa, I must have missed something big. NetEase hasn't made any new investments in studios or IP since the start of last year. Seattle-based Simon Zhu, who has been with the company for more than a decade, remains in charge of NetEase Games investments. He declined an emailed request for comment. Japan has been one of NetEase's key outposts, and celebrated creator Toshihori Nagoshi, responsible for the Yakuza franchise, a major hire to bolster the creative ranks. The decision to close Oka was made in the midst of developing the studio's first big game, Visions of Mana, for Square Enix Holdings. Ding overruled executives who hadn't greenlit the project, and he decided there's no need for a team working for outside publishers, the people said. Wow. Outside Uka, NetEase-funded Japanese creators, Nagoshi among them, have been given time to wrap up ongoing projects. The message from headquarters in Hangzhou has been that there will be no additional funding or time, the people said. There's no plan to spend on marketing or promoting the games currently in production in Japan. Wow. They're just like, so they're leaving Japan and the West. That's even though some of NetEase's Western studios engaged in discussions with potential new game publishers, according to one of the people. Jackalope Games, NetEase's first studio in the U.S., has been working on what's known in the industry as a massively multiplayer online role-playing game tied to the Warhammer game franchise. That sounds cool. At a recent trade show, it received a positive reception from potential partners. When asked about the status of the overseas studios on a conference call with analysts on Thursday, Ding said via a translator that the company remains committed to support really high-quality studios and really master creators. That's our strategy. He said there's no change on that. Along with the escalating cost of development that pushed industry executives toward a more risk-averse approach that has cost tens of thousands of jobs globally, in 2023, NetEase let go of almost 900 employees from its game division. Well, how do y'all feel about this? Now, for the Marvel Rivals news, I felt like it was a smaller team. It was like a team of 6. And I think there was a big reaction to that because people reacted the same way they did to those 6 people being let go as they did to like 15,000 people being let go from Microsoft. And I'm not happy or celebrating that anybody lost their job. I think it's a strange decision, to say the least. I don't think it's comparable to what some other companies have had to do in the past. I don't think it's comparable to what Microsoft has had to do. None of it's good, but I think it's just not comparable. So that's what's going on with NetEase, as far as I know. Now, I had thought they were like closing down. Is NetEase? Let's ask Grok. Just kidding. Do you still use rewards? I haven't done the reward stuff. Let me just ask really quick. Is NetEase pulling out of the West? Recent developments indicate, this is the AI thing. I want the sources though. So it's investing more in Marvel Rivals. Oh, here we go. Polygon had something about it. After years of growth and international investment, the Chinese publisher is retreating. And that was from February 21st, so 2 days ago. The cuts to North American team working on Marvel Rivals aren't an anomaly. NetEase founder and CEO Ding is reported to have cut hundreds of jobs, closed studios, and taken a firmer hand with the company's Japanese teams, including the one Ryu Ga Gotoku studio head. Ding also reportedly floated canceling development of Marvel Rivals before it was released. That would have been bad. The billionaire CEO is said to have balked at paying Disney a licensing fee for Marvel superheroes and villains. NetEase denied this account. Oh, so NetEase said that didn't happen. Over the past year, they divested from multiple studios outside of China, including Worlds Untold, the Vancouver-based, led by ex-BioWare creative Mac Walters. Oh, I know Mac. I interviewed Mac for Mass Effect Remastered. Shortly after Bloomberg's story was filed, GameFile reported on Friday that NetEase plans to divest. Oh, this is what I was looking for. It was a Stephen Totelo piece. One of GameFile's sources say NetEase plans to divest itself from the majority of its overseas teams, leading to the potential closure of more than a dozen game studios if they can't secure new post-NetEase funding. A NetEase rep declined to comment to GameFile on these cuts, let alone the scale of more than a dozen that I've heard about. But they did say that all studios and projects are in constant review and evaluation, and NetEase will determine changes needed to be made throughout the process. You know, a lot of the analysts thought that the layoffs and everything were going to slow down this year. It doesn't feel like that's necessarily going to be the case, unfortunately. Anyway, yeah, I think that it seems like they're gonna pull out of the West, if that makes sense. Yeah, in February, they laid off the Seattle-based team for Marvel Rivals, but that was a smaller team. And then they just said, oh, yeah, by the way, we're also shutting all of this other stuff down. Well, that's unfortunate. Oh, Shuhei Yoshida revealed that former PlayStation... One more Shuhei thing really quick. Former PlayStation executive Shuhei Yoshida revealed on the Sacred Symbols podcast that Sony wanted to make Demon's Souls 2 with From Software, but the studio turned down the idea and instead teamed up with Bandai Namco for a spiritual successor, Dark Souls. Interesting. We could have had a Demon's Souls 2, y'all. From Software was already working on the sequel, but they were so disappointed with how PlayStation treated them. We wanted to work with them again, but they passed on it, Yoshida explained. That's unfortunate. Demon's Souls was amazing, but I mean, things ended up working out at the end of the day. And I think PlayStation has invested heavily in them in the future. That was the last one I had for y'all. I was going to talk about the other Bungie news with Christopher Barrett, but maybe not. I reached out to Bungie and Christopher for comment just to see if they posted anything officially. And like, that's what you're supposed to do. So I figured I would do that. And maybe I'll do a separate video about it if I wanted to. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is so good though. Just finished the tutorial section last night. Loving it. So you're 10 hours in. Good job, Tyson. Yeah. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Are you playing the original or the second one, Tyson? Because I'm really enjoying the second. Yeah. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I'm probably going to call it Go Check on Nate, Go Make Dinner for the Family. And I have 2 interviews coming in the near future. The most pressing one is probably going to be the one with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, the Toby from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And then following up, I will be doing a second interview with Thomas Mahler from Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Excited about that. I'll probably do Kingdom Come and then maybe Thomas next week, just so I can have some separation and then, you know, make fans happy. Man, I have a lot of interviews coming up. So I'm excited about that. I followed the stories actually. Destin himself reported on some of these a couple of years ago. Did not know the 2 of those combined. Who combined? Media Molecule merged with that. Oh yeah. Yeah. Those teams ended up sort of becoming one. Well, what happened was Japan studio closed and a lot of those people went over to the other company. We need more content ASAP. Guillermo. Yeah. I've been really busy with other life stuff. So I'll try and figure out a better cadence, but I was like started digging into the Microsoft numbers and I want to keep the streams consistent on Sunday. I think I'm going to keep doing that. I thought about it and like, that's sort of like working pretty well with the family and everything. So yeah. So to recap, Xbox Muse, I'm interested in the revitalizing old games. I think that's pretty cool. Not so much interested in literally everything else they talked about. I don't have anything to say, Ventura. It's not worth it. It's like pointless. All I did was correct a tweet and say what Yoshida said. He said that they primarily target PC releases in the US and China. That's it. I'm not like trying to pick a fight. I'm just saying that's what you said is not correct. They are not just targeting China. They are targeting the US and China. That's it. I don't think there's much more to go off of from there. Gonna see them Monster Hunter sales go crazy. Yeah, I think Monster Hunter is going to do really well. Somebody wanted me to talk about Avowed. I'm not far enough in Avowed to make my own conclusion. I think some of the quests are fun. I think some of the weapons are interesting. I like the fact that you can be evil. So some of the storytelling is pretty good. The scary thing is I have heard that a lot of people have had issues in late game where they lose the ability to control their character or their save file. Like Luke Stevens did a full review for Avowed, and he said that he started having issues with his save files and he would have to do massive backtracking and stuff like that. So yeah. I have some other stuff coming this next week. I'll make the announcement whenever is appropriate, but I teased some of them on today's stream. So you're just going to have to wait, but it's coming. Thanks for watching, everybody. I think I'm going to get out of here. Go spend some time with the fam this evening, get this interview off and ready to go. I got to export the second interview. I did 2 interviews this week. Yeah. Another Star Wars Outlaws situation. See, I think Avowed as a game, I think it's fine. Like, it's not the worst thing I've ever played, but it's also not really pushing the elements of design in any impactful way. I think the storytelling is good at points. Like there were actually a few quests where I'm like, oh, this is really, really interesting. But yeah, I mean, overall, I don't really know what else to say about Avowed. When I actually have time to play video game, I just haven't had time to play anything. Like this whole week, I've been crazy busy. So yeah. Perfectly average game. If you love perfectly average games, yeah, like it's just okay. It's not like the worst game I've ever played. I do like it. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it's like selling like hotcakes or anything. Like why would anybody do that? Why would anybody say, look at the sales numbers? Anybody can go to SteamDB and you can see, like, you can like the game, that's fine, but like if you're going to argue that it's selling well, I think you're incorrect. Yeah, it looks like it peaked at 19,000 concurrents, 19,198. I wonder if that's good. That might be one of the better Xbox releases on Steam lately. Yeah, it's not Redfall. It's not like a disaster like Redfall, but yeah. Yeah, it's just an okay game. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's the best game ever. I think there's elements of it that might even be good. Like on the Destin scale, I'll just tell you, I'll spoil it right now, but it's going to fall in the 7. It'll be right in that middle of the road territory. Like I said, my scale is 1 out of 10, 7 out of 10, or 10 out of 10. If I encounter a bug that won't let me move forward, I saw some meme video the other day where a player like lost the ability to go forward. So he was forced to strafe to the right and he couldn't do anything else. And I was just like, yeah, that would make it a 1 out of 10. But I think it's a solid 7 out of 10. I'm friends with Travis over at IGN, and I was like, oh, I saw your Avowed review. I think it's pretty on the money. Pretty on the money. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, chat. Thank you so much. I'm going to go check out my kiddo. I hope he's doing okay. The Frisbee issue earlier kind of takes the wind out of your sails. Thank you so much for the support, everybody. I do greatly appreciate you watching. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell. My subscribe player isn't working. Come on. What's going on here? Is it... What happened? Did my canvas resolution change or something? All right, let's try it again. What? Something happened. I don't know what that's about. And the trigger's not working. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell to know when my content goes live. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. This is the wrong members page. What happened to my profile? Oh, man. Something broke. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll just do the outro in case I clip anything from the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody. I do greatly appreciate it. And thank you so much to all the members who support this happening. Christopher, Inner Machine, Scarecrow121, Phil-Aroni, and anybody else who I forgot off the top of my head. Thank you so much for watching. I do greatly appreciate it. If you want to check out my last video, I talked about PlayStation sale numbers and how they are quite impressive. Thanks for watching. I got to get out of here. I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now.